Hello, my name is Claudia Espinosa. I am currently working with an incredible woman who founded an organization to train leaders to, at the same time, train leaders, girls, to become leaders in developing countries. And her target is the poorest girls in the world.
I'm sorry, your target is what?
To train the poorest girls in the world to become leaders. And so the moment she designed a program, like a program to implement in developing countries, and she's trying to at the moment to get to raise some funds to implement a program in Nepal, and we're writing proposals to actually make this happen. So my question is, since Jacqueline, for instance, is directly working with girls, where should we ask for help? Which organizations, foundations, we should reach out for them to help us make this a reality? Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions from the audience? Well, I will let the panelists decide which questions they're going to answer, and whoever wants to start first.
So to the question about what can you do within the next 30 days, it's, you know what I would say, read everything that you can get your hands on. Just become that person who knows exactly what's going around the world, right? So my suggestion is read the New York Times, read the New Yorker, read the Wall Street Journal, read the Financial Times. These are all great places to just get a diverse set of opinions. It's really great to know what's happening in the cultural scene, certainly in the politics, certainly in the economy, to know what's happening in real estate. I mean, it's just, you want to become that person who knows what's happening. You have the finger on the pulse of things. The second thing is, I love the dilemma that you're in, the person who's talking about the West Point dilemma, because there is so much work to be done on gender and security. And I think it would be great if you could get all your departmental chairs together and your faculty together to do a presentation on gender and security. Get folks from this panel to come and make those kind of linkages. Isabel Coleman has a great article in Foreign Affairs on women, on gender and security. I mean, really great ideas on why folks who pay attention to national security must pay attention to poverty, social justice, women's leadership, all of that stuff. Clearly, your colleague, as well-intentioned as he may be, is a little bit old-fashioned and doesn't quite realize what the cutting-edge research on some of these issues are. So my suggestion is actually maybe if you have resources, organize a half-day forum or a day-long conference on why gender matters and why the armed forces need to be listening to gender issues. The last question I don't know, maybe I'll defer to the other folks on that.
I just have a quick one about the 30 days. I think that whole sense of a self-assessment, to be able to take some time and say, where am I at? What are my gifts and talents? And a lot of the things that people are saying here about building a network or building your own self-perception, you know, where are some things that you might be a little bit weak in that you need to build up? So to take this advice and say, where am I at with that? And then form some kind of plan to build on those.
Maybe we'll just go down the line a little bit if that works for you guys. On the 30-day plan, I would add a piece to Terry's, which is identify for yourself someone who you really trust in your work environment, who will see you clearly and be able to help you also from an external view of that which you do really well and that which you don't, so that you can turn the heat up on that. And with that, I'm going to transition to turning the heat up. And you know I'm talking directly to you. You know? Turn up the heat. I have a word for you, Frances Hesselbein, all right? She is your best friend. She is West Point's best friend. They've never been prouder, you know, she is the one. And she would embrace that with the most open arms, and then we are going to get you a badge that does say Defender of the Gender. So, you know, you are, you know, and we'll help you, you know. So, but I mean, Frances, are you kidding me? Okay, and then Claudia. That is such a big conversation that I just want to give you my business card, and I'd rather we talk offline because there's so much huge stuff in that, and I actually do have some ideas for you. Now, I don't have ideas for money, but I know people who do. So, but I do have ideas for organizations with which you can build very strong and positive coalitions who are serving girls or serving girls and boys. But you know what? That's okay. You know, so we'll talk. I brought cards. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably an open invitation for anyone on any question. The 30 days, someone asked me yesterday, I was doing an interview, and they asked, what is the most radical thing that you believe that women could do to actually advance women's leadership? And I said, and it's the same thing that I would say to you, have a clear, compelling, passionate answer to the question, why should I invest in you? Right? You need to have, every woman had we can talk about our organizations and we can talk forever about other people, but if each one of us had a really passionate, compelling, convincing answer to the question, why should I invest in you, you'd be going a long way. And then second, identify a potential sponsor, right? Start working on that right now. I have a little bit different take on the marginalizing issue, because one of the things that I learned from Marie in terms of leadership and in terms of creating really significant social change is that it's very important to meet people where they are. Okay, and right now we're a little bit handicapped in this room, and that we're preaching a little bit to the choir. Right, I think it's very important for us to know that and to recognize that. I actually don't believe that he's necessarily old-fashioned. We've done a lot of polling and a lot of interacting, particularly with millennial women, and gender-specific messages and the broader. This is a unique group of people, and I think it's important for us to understand that because we're all working on this work. But if you're talking about the general population of young women specifically, gender-specific messages are not resonating as much. In fact, that whole notion of why are we still talking about women and why are we still talking about gender is actually much more common than we care to think. And I think that it's important for us, those of us who are working on this work, to actually respond to that, right? And not in a way that implies that we're better or that those people are misinformed, but that really we find creative ways of demonstrating that actually this work is valuable, but more importantly, that although I'm talking a lot about women, this is not just about women. This is about everyone, right? Because if in the context of leadership, I actually believe that that we'll never achieve the kind of social and economic progress that we need to without women sitting at the table. And that's going to make an impact on everyone. And so that to me is a little bit of a spin. I have other kinds of messages that we can use, but I actually think it's important to address that in a real legitimate way. And I think that it's a legitimate issue that we have. The other piece is that it may actually be true that you're marginalizing yourself, and that kind of goes back to the perception issue. I think those of us who have complexities in terms of identity have a little bit more flexibility in that, but it's possible that you are, and for you to know that and to know how to mitigate that when it comes to your career and your advancement, I think is really important. And ditto on the 3. Actually, there are a few foundations, but that's longer, so I'll give you a card.
Very briefly, because everyone wants to get to the reception. Just to go back to my first point, it's always nice to come in a circle on the skills. I would say find one thing during the next 30 days that you can fake an attitude on. And I don't mean pretending that you know something you don't know or lying about your skills or your abilities. But, and I don't know you, so this may not be your issue, but for most women, most young women, you might do something very well, but you're going to start out by describing what happened to someone with the parts that went wrong. You're going to get asked to do something, and ultimately you're going to do it and do it very well, but you'll start by telling somebody how, boy, I've never done that before, I'm not sure what I'm doing, those kinds of things. You're going to give a presentation, someone's going to ask me tonight, oh, how did it go? And instead of saying, oh, it went great, I was brilliant, they loved me, I'm going to say, well, I think it was okay, but in thinking about it, there were some points I wish I had made, and I talked too much, and the other people on the panel were great, and I'm not sure I really belonged up there, so it was fine, but, I think I could do better next time, right? Two different ways of describing exactly what happened, the person that I'm describing it to won't have been here. They won't have any idea of what really happened. I'd like to leave them with the impression that I did a great job, not the impression, boy, if that's her way of describing it, she really messed that up. You know? So it seems very trivial, but it's really important. And if you start to do it, it sort of will change the way you interact with the world. Now, you don't want to go too far. How did tonight go? Oh man, I was amazing. They loved me and they want me to come back tomorrow and do it again. You know, at a certain point, then you become offensive the other direction. So you have to find the right voice. But a lot of it is just practicing, practice with friends. You know, friends of mine, and I really will do this quick, used to say when we would, you can complain quietly to your friends, or you can, you know, oh, I messed that up to your friends, but then we would make each other go out and do it like one of our male colleagues would do it, and come in and describe the exact same thing the way one of our male contemporaries would do it. And you know what? Actually, it was ridiculous, but making yourself do it, it becomes easier, and you are the one controlling people's perception of yourself. So that's my what will you do in 30 days. And I think the West Point issue is so interesting, and I just don't know enough about it. But having come from a world in which too much talk about gender would have people's eyes glaze over and they wouldn't want to hear you, there is a way to try to find the right language to be doing it and not using some of the language of it so that they don't even know that it's happening to them. And to describe things, as someone pointed out, in ways that suggest that this is in the organization or whoever it is that you're dealing with, their own self-interest. It is not for the betterment of being a good person, but it actually is for the betterment of the organization and what it is that they want. And the answer is that has to be the case, that it is better, the things that you're working on. And it also has to be the case that some of the language arguably could be changed to better address or not get into that eyes glazed over, which is nothing you're doing wrong, but just a reality of how people tend to react to these issues. And on the funding, you've got, you know, I'm new to this too, maybe I'll get their lists as well. So.
Well, please join me in thanking all the wise wisdom of our panelists tonight. I hope all of you have learned something this evening and that will help you in your career and help you in your future. And those of you who are able to stay, we are now at the reception, and feel free to come up, ask additional questions, and enjoy the evening. And thank you for coming to this event tonight.
Thank